will be plumbing.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep it for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy, see something. This is SOUQ business landscape.
Hello and welcome to SOUQ Business Landscape, your weekly window into Nigeria's business market and policy shift. Today, we unpack the latest moves in oil, energy, housing, aviation, and trade. Plus, a look at how AI is reshaping the digital economy. Live from our studios in Lagos, I am Olumide Shokoya. We are the three horsemen, not the four horsemen this time. Starting from my left, looking dashing and ever looking sweet, is Chooks John Rogers.
Good morning, Olumide.
Good morning, Chooks.
Good morning, Oyipriye. To everyone out there, good morning and welcome to SBL. It's nice to be here.
Yes, Chooks calls him the fair one. I call him the perfect gentleman, Onyipriye Krumale.
Good morning to you, the night, Olumide, and good morning to you, Chooks. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigerian. Good morning, world. It's great to be in your face again.
All right, let's look at what we have today on SOUQ Business Landscape's plate. Now, SOUQ's Business Landscape this morning, Nigeria pushes for a higher OPEC quota, but can the country meet the target? All tax revenues plunge over 50%. What's behind the sharp fall? Now, Dangote is always in the news, plans a massive refinery expansion, aiming to double capacity. Quite juicy. Nigerian Airspace Management Agency warns funding cuts could threaten air safety. And Lagos clamps down on estate rule violators, as AI redefines how we browse the web. From oil to aviation to housing and tech, this is where markets meet inside. SOUQ Business Landscape starts now. We take a short break, and when we come back, we start. Stay tuned. Welcome back to SOUQ Business Landscape. Now, don't forget, we are on social media. We are streaming live on YouTube, so follow us, drop your comment, like, and share on our YouTube page at SOUQ News TV. Let's start off with the first story. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokpobiri, has announced that Nigeria will push for a higher oil production quota at the upcoming Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, meeting scheduled for November. Lokpobiri made the disclosure on Tuesday in Abuja during an interview with the media team of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. The discussion focused on Nigeria's upstream oil sector performance 4 years after the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act and the establishment of the commission. He noted that the current OPEC quota, fixed approximately at 1.5 million barrels per day, no longer reflects Nigeria's actual production capacity. Now, the minister argued that with improvements in infrastructure, regulation, and investment, the country is now capable of producing more and should be allowed to do so. The push for a revised quota is expected to be a key part of Nigeria's engagement at the OPEC meeting as it seeks to maximize oil revenues and attract further investment into the sector. Now, I'll also take the second story. It says, Nigeria's oil tax earning fell sharply in September 2025, dropping more than half and missing government's target amid failing receipt from production sharing contract. Now, this according to new data from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, that's FAAC, obtained on Tuesday. Total oil tax collection, which includes petroleum profit tax, hydrocarbon tax, and company income tax, that's oil and gas, declined to 302.5 billion naira in September, marking a 53.06% fall from 644.50 billion naira in August. Now, this sharp drop reflects mounting fiscal pressure and volatility in the oil sector. The figure also fell 49.6% below the monthly target of 617 billion naira, creating a revenue shortfall of 297.65 billion for the month. The decline is expected to weigh heavily on budget implementation and could force the government to explore alternative financing options to meet spending obligations. Now, I have to read these two stories because I wanted, one story is saying, hey, we're doing well, we're doing more than 1.5. We should request for more. And the second story is saying we are falling short. What do you think? Where should we even start from? Where should we even locate the problem? Because yes, we are approaching OPEC meeting. This is our proposed deal that, okay, give us more, what do you call it?
Increase our quota.
Increase our quota. So that because we are doing more than, or we've done more than that, but it's not reflecting in our books. Jokes, what's the problem?
Okay, let's go first with the OPEC quota. Now, there are several member states of the OPEC, oil, petroleum exporting countries. Now, there are several member states. From inception, 5 of them, then expanded. Nigeria came in, now we have OPEC plus.
Yes.
Of this, Saudi Arabia has a quota of 10.4 million
barrels
per day. Yes. Nigeria from 5 to 7 to 8 to 1.5 million. That's what we have. Venezuela, they have about 2.3 something million barrels per day. Now, Venezuela don't meet their quota thanks to their own internal crisis, orchestrated by some other Western countries. But now, let's look at Nigerian quota. It's been there for a very long time. Is it that we are not making more than 1.5? We have been producing more than 1.5. But we've always had, allegedly, it's always been there. The IOCs and their collaborators, they've not been able to tell us how much we produce per day. What they mark on their register is what we take. And over time, that has stood because it has not favored us as a country, because we as a people, let me use that word, we as a people, we've not taken control of that production away from what we've signed on paper with IOCs and co. Now the trend is gradually changing. We have more Nigerian companies. More data is being open there. And we're trying to see more transparency, even if we are not there yet, but at least we are seeing those steps. So we should be able to say, okay, good and fine. Dear OPEC, increase our quota. We have been producing more, even if we've been reporting less. But now let's produce more and report more. And OPEC give us that leeway to be able to produce more, because 1.5 million cannot sustain our budget. Let's be straight with that. Now, that being done, we have the right to go and ask, and we will get. If we can't get it, we should look at other countries that have not been meeting their quota and give that to us. But before we get there, now let's go back to the second side of the story. Over 53% shortfall on tax collection from oil in September is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. These are things that you ask questions. When there are mistakes, or when you have some error in mathematics, they will tell you, okay, once is over 0.5, then you start asking questions. Over 1%, then they will directly mark you wrong. Over 10%, something is wrong. Over 50%, then there is a disaster somewhere. We should ask ourselves those particular questions. What exactly is accounting for that? Did we not produce at all? Did some drilling companies not work at all? So what exactly happened? These are questions that we don't get to ask. But most times you see it written on books and say, okay, is the oil industry shortfalls? This can happen, that can happen. No. There is an extent to which error is allowed. Over 50%, no. We can't have done 600 and something billion the previous month, and we are doing 302 billion in September. What happened to more than half of the revenue that was supposed to be collected? Who are those in those particular places? They should come out and tell us directly what happened. These are what other clients will do. Senate hearing immediately. It's not 2-3 months. No, it happens by the day, and they account. Okay, this is what happened. This is who failed. This is what failed. This is what we can take care of. This is where we should go.
Coming to you, Priye, Lokobury seems very optimistic that we are producing more than 1.5. I mean, it was reported in a couple of months.
I think we are producing 1.7.
1.7, 1.8, and he's insisting that we should even go more. I mean, surprisingly, Saudi Arabia is doing 10. We should even be shooting up to 5 million, because we can't do it if every other leakages is sealed and it's taken care of. Now we have 53-point-something% shortfall. I know NNPCAL is under a whole lot of scrutiny right now, but how do we begin to locate the error, and how do we begin to rectify it? This is beyond Lokobury. I think this, and we have a Minister for trillion, even though he doubles as the president. But do you think that the Minister for State and the rest are up to the task to find the leakages?
That's their job. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Lokbobri. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekpo. They're doing their job. Lokbobri on his table is telling us that, look, our production quota needs to go up, but we need to seek it through the formal means. And it's not rocket science. That's because when the former administration, former president of blessed memories, Muhammadu Buhari, came onto the saddle, he did the same thing. He went to Saudi Arabia to lobby Saudi Arabia to increase Nigeria oil production quota. And we got it because the president then realized that we need lots of money to fund not only our budget, but also to cater to many of the projects that lie fallow that are needed to be attended to, and which we got, and that's okay. The other thing, the advantage is what I'm looking at, because when you look at the advantage, the multinational oil companies that Chooks referenced, they are going to be expanding production. They are going to be expanding drilling activities. And that in itself, of course, when we start looking at it very, very well and closely, we know that the profit sharing, which is the second story that you reference in the profit sharing, it's are going to accrue to both the government and these companies. However, because of some of what we will call hanky-panky in the system, I just hope they are not shortchanging the federal government or shortchanging the state, most especially when they are using the PSC. Now, there's a reason why I want to read out what we are reading out, and this has to do with the criteria for which OPEC needs to assign a production quota to member states. Because sometimes I feel that, can we just ditch OPEC if we have the capacity and just produce? Can we just ditch OPEC and look at the international system, look for clients, look for customers, go ahead, if we can do more, then supply them? Now that a lot of buyers who used to buy the Russian oil are beginning to retard, are beginning to take a back step because of the way the European Union and the United States are putting flames under their seats. It's an avenue, it's an advantage for Nigeria, Angola, Algeria to up the ante, up the game, and take advantage of this. And the reason why they are not doing that is, it bothers me. Now, these are the criteria. First of all, proven oil reserves. Countries with large proven oil reserves like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait are generally assigned a higher production quota.
So let's start from there.
We don't have proven oil reserve. We have, it might not be up to Saudi Arabia that has 260 billion barrels of reserve. What about Nigeria? Okay, so because I tend to look at it from a nationalistic disposition, and there are sometimes we just need, we are good boys out there in the international system. We are too good. But inwardly, that good boy is not, we don't really see the good boy. We are even more harsher inside. So sometimes we need to be, hostile out there. The second thing is production capacity. A member's maximum sustainable production capacity, how much it can produce efficiently and sustainably, heavily influences its quota. And if Saudi Arabia heads OPEC, then they need to be lobbied, just the way I told you that former President Muhammadu Buhari had to lobby the Saudi Arabian government. So before Chooks' brother Heineken, coming out to tell us that this is what we are going to do, there must have been a backdoor conversation with Saudi Arabia that, look, this is where, remember in the 2025 budget, Mr. President said that about 2 million barrels is our target for 2025. We seem to be heading there. So, can we have leave to produce about 2.5 million barrels or 3.5 million barrels per day? Even if you can't increase it at a stretch, can we have 2 million for now? Because the way we are going, we are going to hit 2 million in no time, and 2.5 million is a guarantee. So we need to do that. And domestic consumption. When we start talking about domestic consumption, we know that the price of refined crude actually dictates where the pendulum swings when it comes to looking at the Nigerian economy. Because everything, if there is an increase in price today, it affects the consumption, it affects transportation, it affects businesses, it affects energy, you name it. So we should be giving, don't be giving us 1.5 million. You can even give us 5 million. If we can't attain it, fine. You know? So
we should be giving 5 million.
We should be giving a lot more. Before you do that, economic dependence on oil. This is what I just said. Our economy is completely almost reliant on oil. About 80% of our foreign earnings comes from oil. Yesterday in the news, the imports in the Nigerian import profile, more than 600 million of barrels we imported into the country. Oil producing state, one of the largest in the world, if not number 6. These are anomalies.
Okay. While you look at those anomalies, let's also remember that if we are going to OPEC and telling them to increase our quota, we have to try and see how can we strike a balance between the entire OPEC quota itself, because OPEC controls over 80% of oil production worldwide. And each time OPEC naturally will not increase their quota altogether, total quota, because when they do, it affects oil prices. And that stability is what the entire economy depends on the long run. So how can we get them to increase our quota without affecting significantly the entire OPEC quota? These are a whole lot of the arguments we'll be having, and that Nigeria needs to be able to tinker out before getting to that particular table. Can they do it, increase our quota? Yes, they can, but whose quota are they going to reduce? Yes, because if you remember, the last time we had a problem with oil prices, it had to do with OPEC saying that they are increasing daily quotas. Trump had to go to Saudi and say, please, can you guys reduce it?
Because the U.S. is not in OPEC.
Yes, definitely. The U.S. is not in OPEC. And also, we have a lot of covering being in OPEC than staying outside OPEC. We have better covering
within OPEC.
Within OPEC than outside OPEC. My major issue is accountability. I'm a firm believer that we've always produced more than 1.5 million. Always. Both from domestic, local, and the IOCs. Is majorly the reporting. We've had that report over and over again, that a lot of companies allegedly underreport their production. So a lot of these ones that are not reported leave this country without accountability. So these are a lot of loopholes where this government should try and fix. Let's know exactly who is responsible for those extra production that is not accounted for, and let the country not be fleeced through that particular avenue. Then when it comes to this tax, I still stand on it.
Yes, I wanted to ask,
50% is too much.
Impact, our budget stability and financing in operations?
It will impact it majorly, because if we keep quiet on this, if the government, if those who've saddled with the the right to rule right now, and call leaders, if they don't take this serious, it will happen again. Somebody needs to stand up and explain to me as a layman, how come you made over 600 billion, and the next month you're making less than half of that. Give me a primary school explanation of what happened. How? Are you telling me that the oil wells ran dry, or that we did not ship out crude? Then where exactly are those shortfalls coming from? We need those down to the penny explanation on this issue.
Okay, but if we are going to take a second look at this, earlier on I mentioned that the PSC, that's the production sharing contract, which represent an agreement between the government and the multinational oil companies. You know, they provide all the technical expertise, the money, the finance, the infrastructure, the technology to go and drill or to explore, to look for oil. And if they are able to find oil, then they can now, you know, explore that oil and sell. But first of all, there's cost oil and there's profit oil. So the cost oil is how the multinational oil organizations are going to get back all their expenses that they inserted in exploring the oil. So they are going to sell part of the oil they found, they've explored, to recover their investment. That's cost oil. Then they will now bring up the other part to sell between, so that themselves and the state, Nigeria, in this case, will have to share the profit. That is now called profit oil. Now, who monitors the multinational organization when they go for these explorations? And when they discover this oil, who monitor their books to know how much they spent in that exploration, so that by the time they are done and they discover the oil there, or they, you know, explore all those, when to know that, okay, this is actually how much they spent, so that by the time they are selling some part of the oil to get back their investment, first, we are not being shortchanged. Do we have government agency involved in that, as in actively monitoring that?
If it definitely will have, but the question is, those people that are sitting at that table, are they representing Nigeria or they are representing themselves?
Well, they are Nigerians.
Yes, they are Nigerians. Yes. Or is it not in this same country that somebody almost signed off an entire industry for how much? Less than $1 billion.
Okay, so
that the country had to go to the UK to go to court in the UK. We've seen there are Nigerians that it's always more of and we do have nationalistic people that truly represent us and not represent themselves. Yes, they could be in any of the ministry or any of the government parastatals representing us, representing the ministry, but at the end of the day, is it Nigeria that they are standing for? That's the major question that I will put to you, because you have the solution. But those particular people, are they there just politically? That's another question we need to start asking ourselves. We should at some point stop giving credence to political appointments when it comes to these critical positions. Let's look for people that we can hold accountable and responsible for their tenure. That is why we have civil servants. So when they don't do well, you can fire the person at any point in time, or you can arrest the person at any point in time, or you can query the person at any point in time. It won't be a political settlement or a political agreement or a family affair. We've seen it happen several times, where we end up losing, and it will now be a political affair.
So now, coming to you now, how do we solve, or how do we rectify this 53% drop in oil tax revenue? Where should we start from? Ministry of Finance, Senate hearing, EFCC, ICPC, petroleum ministers?
Sometimes the audit is very, very important. And I'm not talking about the kind of audit that we are still talking about recently, when he said, oh, we need to extend the audit on the period which it covered to December 2024, that which we saw some few days ago. That's not the kind of audit that we are looking at. So if we're going to treat that, we need to look at it from a business perspective, from a nationalistic perspective, according to SOUQ, and also from the perspective where political will needs to come into place. Because if we look at that, and it's not being perpetuated by unscrupulous elements, if it's not being perpetuated by criminal acts, then we know that it's just market dynamics. Because I don't see how, maybe you should tell me.
Market dynamics, 53% shortfall?
Yeah, because I don't see how we seem to be going up in our production of oil, and what we are getting from taxation concerning that is falling down.
SOUQ said we could be underreporting. SOUQ said some companies might be underreporting.
Exactly the same thing I referenced earlier. And you know, the multinationals, because they're
not just the multinationals,
profit driven. Well, you cannot single out them completely. We also know that other government agents can be complicit.
Definitely.
Complicit, because one entity cannot unilaterally,
Cook
try
the books.
they can't. So that is something the radar of the EFCC and the ICPC need to really spread around, and for us to, make sure
Then
we rectify
when
this
are we
50%.
actually going to get the total accurate record from NNPC? What is actually producing per day? What is actually
We can only get that from NNPC. And if it's not forthcoming at the moment, and I think it's the responsibility of the National Assembly to someone both Ekpo and SOUQ's brother, Heineken Lokbobri.
What about NNPC's boss? The NNPC
But
boss.
we all know that when Ojulari got into the saddle, he was being summoned by the Senate
And he wanted
committee
to
to
sell
come
it.
and answer questions. And he came.
And he wanted to sell it.
But Nigerians clamored for selling. Nigerians clamored for selling of the national asset. The rights advocate, Femi Falana, came up and said, we cannot sell it. We need to go through constitutional provision because the existence of that national asset came into being by way of the acts of the National Assembly. And he gave his own perspective from the constitutional perspective. So it's neither here nor there. However, I know that the government, the federal government, if that is going to be profitable to Nigerians, because the same Nigerians that are clamoring, sell it, or Nigerians that are clamoring, don't sell it. When it's not being sold, and we begin to see unsavory news such as this, and that we are not performing at the optimum level, they raise their voices. Then when it is finally being sold, Nigerians will say the administration sold it to their cronies, to their political allies, and to their business friends. So it's neither here nor there, but what we're just looking for is accountable leadership to steer the sail so that we can see this efficient and this level of efficiency and production go up. But however, one thing we must give to this administration is that we've been going up gradually since they got into the saddle when we're talking about our production capacity and how much we are churning out daily.
Is it truly reflecting in the books?
Of course, it's reflecting. It's reflecting because you've seen that now we are IGR, about 90% used to go to settle debt, and now it has reduced about 50-60%. It is reflecting.
Chooks, do you agree?
Well, when we look at reflecting, it's more of closing a lot of gaps where we've been losing out. The more gaps we close, the better for us. My mind still can't wrap around the 53% loss in revenue for September. My mind still
Maybe
can't.
they overshot it.
My
Maybe it's quite
mind
less.
still
Maybe it's quite less than that.
can't wrap it. So we need to start holding people responsible and accountable. So when we get to that point where we start seeing those Senate hearings, that happens on the regular. What happened? Why the shortfall of 2%? Okay, good and fine. The books can arrange that. Why the shortfall of 10%? No, somebody should explain. Why the shortfall of 50%? Fire somebody.
What about auditing?
Yeah, auditing is not a monthly thing.
be...
Auditing happens quarterly, half a year, 1 year. Then internally, you can now do weekly or monthly. But we can't wait for the audit to get things right. We can't have 50% shortfall in revenue generation. 50% is too much.
All right, let's move on to the next story. Still on oil, president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has revealed plans to expand the Dangote oil refinery's capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day, positioning it as the largest refinery in the world. Now, Dangote disclosed this in an interview with S&P Global, where he explained that the expansion will be funded through partnerships with investors from the Middle East. The ambitious scale-up is expected to significantly boost refinery capacity and reduce Africa's dependence on imported fuel. Earlier reports in July shows that the refinery aimed to increase capacity to 700,000 barrels per day by December 2025. With latest development, the project scope has more than doubled, reinforcing Nigeria's position in the global oil refinery landscape and potentially transforming the continent's energy market. Chooks, this is the good news. But one thing I do not find so good is the investors. Where the investors is coming from, the Middle East, and why the Middle East?
They see possibilities.
Why not Nigeria?
Well, Nigerians are invested in it already.
Okay.
I hope you know. Nigerians are invested in it already. If you remember,
Why not Africa?
Well, there are still a lot of refineries that will come up in Africa. Some are under construction as we speak. If you remember very well, when he was having initial issues with NNPC, his next sidekick was Otedola, and who still remains his major sidekick. And Otedola is also heavily invested in that particular project. Now, is the Nigerian government invested in that project? That is what I will want to see.
I think they had a stake there.
Yeah, they had a stake and it did not work. They had a stake and it did not work. Why it did not work, I really don't know. But well, it now reduced. It now reduced. So at this particular point in time, we've seen that a private entity is working and can work. From getting to about 600 and something barrels to 700,000 barrels, and that is going to be completed in December. Now we've seen expansion, we've seen growth tied to time. That is workable. So you now start asking ourselves, okay, government establishments, this is how businesses are done. People are not just, he's not just being accountable to himself, he's also being accountable to the people that are not even invested in that particular company. Why? Because he knows that his product at the end of the day is going to be consumed by the people. Now they are looking forward to 1.4 million barrels per day. Now, this is just Dangote.
Just Dangote.
So let's now imagine
Five
that we have
Dangote.
5 of these Dangotes. And mind you that when you were saying why the Middle East, yes, the Middle East. There are several refineries, we cannot start mentioning names, in the West that are going to go down because of this particular one. Several have already gone down already. Africa used to be the dumping ground for refined products, whether good or bad, they just dump it this way. And since this has come up, a lot of those that have been importing this sort of product have been having issues. Some have tried their best in fighting and putting on some gloves, and it has not worked, and it will not work. By next year or 2 years down the line, we look forward to having Boa. We look forward to having, there's another one coming up in Akwa Ibom.
Yes.
We look forward to having the modular refineries. There's one in Abia, the one in Brass that you took money for, 35 million.
What about NNPC and
and
Warri?
have not delivered. Let's leave that one out.
Okay.
The one you've took money for and have not delivered, National Assembly, please follow them up. All this should come upstream. People might really not understand. If we have these refineries working, we'll cut down the FX we'll spend in importing by more than 50%. And that will do a whole lot of good to the economy, because that is what is doing a lot of good to the economy already. So we need this to work. Then we need more Nigerians, just like you said. Invest in this. It's here. It's not outside. It's not even in our next door neighbors, Niger or Benin. It's here with us. We should invest in it. We should help it grow.
All right, Priya, coming to you. From 650,000 to 700,000 by December, ultimately 1.5 million barrels per day. And we are doing, how many? 1.5 to 1.7. One man is targeting 1.4.
Yeah.
Will this reflect in Nigeria's economy?
I don't
And
want
do you see the emergence, or do you see some other players coming into this particular terrain?
Of course, it's open. It's like an open sea. They can come swim in it. And it does not, in fact, it's a plus. I don't want to see Dangote refinery or the workings of Dangote as dwarfing the activities or the capacity of the government. No. I want to see them as collaborators who, are playing their own respective responsibility and duties to one to provide direct or indirect jobs for Nigerians, to also make sure that the balance of payments, the balance of trade between Nigeria and other countries, we have a stable balance of payment, and to also reduce the pressure on the dollar or on the naira. Also, if Dangote is doing that, before the program we had a conversation, myself and Chooks, and he was trying to mention that these are contingency plans that he already had in place, and that it looks like the more the operations move forward, the more they see brighter. Dangote is not only going to be exporting raw crude, it's going to be exporting refined products. It's going to expand other industries like plastic, fertilizer, and you name it, plastic, fertilizer, and other industries. And that is going to give birth to, or take us to where we aim to be, industrialization. Because if you look at the report that you read, he's saying that Nigeria needs to, or Africa needs to focus and look inwards for us to not only expand our energy infrastructure, but also for us to be able to take care of our energy needs. And because this is the source for which Africa draws, and not the renewable energy gospel that is being preached to Africans and Nigerians by other climes. So I think this is good. And by the time all other investors that Chooks mentioned, the BUA and all others, they are equally expanding that level of production. I tell you, a time will come, there will be no need for even those who import petroleum products into this country to continue in that line of enterprise.
All right, so do you see a reduction, a total
price
reduction in fuel?
Of course.
With this?
The possibilities are very, very much clear. He didn't just bring in 4,000, what do you call them? Trucks for nothing. Because both for gas and petrol, he's taking them to every nook and every cranny. And we also know that one of the bottlenecks that, brings in the obstacle of price is the logistics. So if he has taken care of that, and I tell you he's going to even do more than 4,000 the way he is going.
But he still has, well, it's been settled. The union thing.
The union, I think that's going to be...
It affected his...
of course, it did. And we can look at it from two perspectives. The union should not use themselves as an instrument in the hand of his business rivals to defeat the expansion, the growth of his company, of that organization, because it is meeting the needs of Nigerians, it is meeting the needs of Africans, and it is providing jobs and indirect jobs. So the union should be very, very careful. And I know it will take the unions to have two heads to sometimes not submit themselves or succumb to whoever wants to use them as instruments, most especially if that person is coming from or has any attachment or affiliation to the corridors of power. Yes.
All right, coming to you, Chooks, when the truck drivers, when these people who were laid off, when they were absolved, they were not absolved back to Dangote Refinery, they were transferred to other places. And
not all of them.
Not all of them, okay. And it affected somehow even his own operations. So moving forward now, he's going for 700. He's going for 1.4 million, which means more people would have to come in, more jobs will be created. How would he navigate through this, knowing fully well that Nupeng is still there and every other unions are still there, and he still has this thing with the union. And he's saying that, no, you cannot do this in my own company. It's my private business. How would he navigate all this?
Okay. It's nice we have this as a base. The company should not be seen as an enemy of the union. Neither should the union be seen as an enemy of the company. Now, how they resolve a conflict is one way we need to now start asking them, hey, good, you can resolve your issues, you can have issues because we are human and we are definitely going to have issues. You can resolve your conflict without it spiraling away and affecting production that will affect the people in the long run. So these are things we need to iron out. Will the company grow? Definitely, the company has to grow, because there's a rate at which a small business will grow. It will grow beyond the owner of the business. You now get incorporated. You now get quoted. It now grows beyond the board. Companies now become a national asset. Mention Apple. Apple might be owned by shareholders, but it is a national asset. NVIDIA, same thing. Several other, even the banks at a point in time had to be bailed out by the United States.
Yes.
Same thing we did here. So that is where they've gotten to, because the government now sees those particular conglomerate as national assets, because they contribute immensely to the growth of the nation. I can't categorically say that Dangote is the highest tax payer in this country. Quote me wrong. So, and most likely the highest employer of labor when it comes to organizations. So if they have to grow, Nupeng, Pegasin, Draftman, all the mans involved have to find a way of resolving issues when one crop up. There are industrial courts. If we live in a climate where the judicial system is as impeccable as it is, or we want it to be, I can't wake up and sue Pegasin, because I found it difficult to come to work. Some other person might have lost its business. So I can't also sue them. So if everybody knows that, hey, there is a boundary to cross, who all acts right. But now, my thought on this is our crude production level. We are producing 1.6, 1.5, 1.8 something. On paper, Dangote needs 700 barrels by December. He is importing already a whole lot. The numbers you were talking about, a lot of them were going to, almost all of them were going to Dangote refinery. Now Dangote wants to scale up to 1.4 some years down the line. That is almost over 90% of what we are currently on paper producing, which means we have to scale up. This has something to do with OPEC quota. This has absolutely nothing to do with OPEC quota. OPEC quota is what leaves our country up. Now, we have to scale up. I've always been an advocate of this. Let us all get Dangote to invest in drilling. We have marginal oil fields that are not deep shore, or that's very up waters. We can't get those oil fields and get Dangote to get people to invest in them. And I don't know, a part of his feedstock will be taken care of. That way, NNPC will worry less. NNPC will just sit down, pick up the books, and say, good and fine. What are you drilling? Let us do our mathematics. Give us our own money. Take the remaining. So these are things that are, well, on paper, sponsors say it's difficult. No, it is not. It's just the bottlenecks and a whole lot of bureaucracy we've put in the middle that is making it difficult. Some years back, I was in a meeting where Aramco came to do a presentation. I was shocked when the man said, hey, if you think it's that difficult, we can give you Aramco. He was telling the NNPC guys, we'll give you Aramco. Come, run the Aramco, pay the tax to us. But there's a whole lot of too personal interest over the long period of time, and a lot of too shady deals over a long period of time that people are finding it difficult to just open up those books. That will make it easy for us to produce more.
All right, you mentioned something earlier on, which I want us to also look at, with 1.4 million barrels per day capacity. Of course, it will affect, you said it will affect other African refineries.
Yes, it's already affecting foreign refineries. Sometime early this year, some foreign refineries
had to shut down. Most of the refineries coming from Europe, they had to shut down because it's actually, and they used to supply most African countries with their refined products. Dangote is going to be taking over those markets, and that's an advantage. That's a plus for Africa.
Importers here, will it affect their own market too?
Time is changing. You have to change. Okay, when you were asking the question about if it's going to cut down price, remember, I always remember this, when was the telecoms kicked off. There was the yellow one. They were charging us 50 naira per minute. Whether it was drop call, even if it was hello, whether it was flashing, 50 naira per minute. Is it not?
And the red one came in.
Then the red one came in. They tried pushing it down. They did not work. Then the green one came in. Then what happened?
The green one was more nationalistic.
I don't know if you understand.
In its pricing, yes.
It crashed everything. Things that we thought, they told us it was not possible. It turned out to be possible. It's doable. It's just people that have the people at heart and not profit and business that is ultimate. Profit is very important. Definitely, everybody opens a business for profit. But you also have to look at the long run, is it doable? Now, if 4 or 5 refineries come upstream, the fuel price is going to go down.
Quite interesting. I think at this point, we need to start encouraging more Dangotes. If Dangote is planning 1.4 million barrels a day in the nearest future, imagine if we have 5 more Dangotes. The Warri, Port Harcourt, and every other refineries should actually, I mean, this is almost like a wake-up call to other refineries, both the national ones and the personal ones, that we need to scale up. We actually need to scale up. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with SOUQ Business Landscape. Stay tuned. Welcome back to SOUQ Business Landscape. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Drop your comments on our social media pages at SOUQ News TV. Let's move on to the next story. The Lagos State government has warned that it will revoke home allocations of residents in its housing estate who fail to comply with existing rules and regulations governing the estate. The move is part of efforts to protect public infrastructure, promote orderliness, and enhance the overall well-being of residents across government-owned estate. Authorities says non-compliance poses a threat to shared facilities and undermine the state's investment in affordable housing. The warning was issued by the Commissioner for Housing, Moruf Akinderu-Fatai, during the monthly Stakeholders Forum and Public Enlightenment meeting held at the Sir Michael Otedola Housing Estate, Ekpe. He urged residents to respect rules, assuring that government remains committed to maintaining livable and sustainable housing environments through stricter enforcement and community engagement. Chooks, one of the words I picked there is affordable housing. So how do you create affordable housing? By threatening to revoke, to enforce something that someone else has built.
I think Lagos State is talking about their own housing, not private estates.
Okay.
Not private estates. What they have with private estate is to collect tax. And private estate, as long as they meet the criteria for construction and approvals, good and fine. But for Lagos State housing authorities, for Lagos State estates, there are rules that they've put down. And they are saying if you flout them, then we are going to have a problem. So those are supposed to be affordable houses, those built by Lagos State. A whole lot of them are middle-class houses, and they are affordable for that. Getting them and having them is now a different ball game. So if they have rules for those estates, and if you subscribe to them and you're fortunate to get allocation in those places, good and fine. But they are telling that if you flout those rules, your allocation will be cancelled.
Coming to you, Priya, affordable housing. How affordable is affordable housing in Lagos?
Whether it is government-owned or private individual-owned, the prices, have direct or indirect connection to the capacity to buy those houses. For Lagos State, there are some houses and housing estates that they have actually, they've successfully erected the buildings and they've given them out. But the way people got it and the way they had to pay, because I don't think there's a public conduit that you can go through to get, because sometimes maybe most times it's not made public. And even if it is made public, it is done for fulfilling all righteousness. Because some of this, of course, I'm not just speaking from my head. We've had conversations with people. It is done, some of them, you get it through the back door. But I don't want to go into that conversation. What I want to go into is what are the rules that these people are flouting that you are threatening to take away the houses?
Their location.
Their location, rather. What are the rules they are flouting? They should have pointed out the rules of abiding by the estate rules. What? Because I'm beginning to imagine, because if we do not know the rules, we cannot begin to say the Lagos State was wrong or right, and we cannot say the residents are wrong or right as well. Because we have to know the rules.
Okay, let's get to the Lagos State Development Commission. They have several estates that they've come up and they are building, but let's now face the fact that we are talking about. They make it very public.
Okay.
In fact, they really play and make it very public. You would think they're already building mass housing for 1 million people, but the truth remains that
it's a strata of society.
it's not just for a strata. The number is not that much compared to the housing deficit we have here in Lagos. So they are constructing about 500, 8,000, 200,000, 3,000, whereas we have a housing deficit of that runs into millions. So the number that will be subscribing for the few is way too much. Now, how do you now get that allocation? That is now a different ball game. Those within the Lagos State ministries are most likely to get those allocations, not just those in the private sector.
Okay.
Because they are inside they are in the system already, so it works faster and closer to them, and they have more information in assessing those particular construction. Then for the rules, the rules.
I think I got some of the rules here.
Oh, beautiful. So can you now, since you were asking for it, go ahead.
Okay, so major rules for the obligations for residents and allottees. One, allottees must occupy their allocated unit within a reasonable prescribed time. For example, units should be occupied within 3 months of allocation.
Okay. Then now let me also help you from what you were saying. Now, a lot of people, those that go through the back door, are majorly not going to live there. They are getting it as a property because it's cheaper coming from government. So when they now try to sell or rent. So that now makes that place vacant for
more than 3 months, and it's a good thing if they are going to reacquire it back from their allottees.
Yes,
so they don't keep other people waiting who are supposed to have the houses. I have another one. It's a payment of facility, service and maintenance fee and insurance premium for estate infrastructure, security, waste disposal rather, and street lighting. And Chooks, it says no unauthorized alterations, modifications, renovation or redesign of the housing unit or estate infrastructure without official approval.
That's a major one. That's a major
one. Even when you rent a house, it's in the contract. If you want to do any renovation, you have to call your landlord because he can sue you to court for
Those are landlords who have good houses with nice and good designs, not the one you are relocating into, and the roofs are almost falling off, and the landlord is not taking the initiative to fix it. And they're telling you pay your fee so you can fix it, and because you need a place to pay, you pay your fee, and they're telling you, they are just stuttering all over the place, and you go and take care of it, and you're telling them that, look, in next year rent, I'm not going to give you the full amount because I'm going to estimate or cost what I'm going to spend here, and I'm going to deduct it from the next. And these things, without a written, agreement, can snowball into conflict between the landlord and the tenant. Okay, well, let's remain within the confines of the government. No conversion or use of resident unit for unapproved commercial purposes or leasing, subletting to persons who undermine the integrity of the estate, e.g. suspected fraudsters, internet fraudsters, or drug users. Compliance with environmental and sanitation rules, keeping surroundings clean and not erecting illegal kiosks or hawking in setback land, abiding by estate design environment, and lastly, adherence to the letter of allocation, memorandum of understanding with the government, deed of sublease, and estate bylaws and regulations relevant to specific estates.
Now, some of the illegal kiosk and hawking, can we actually stop that?
Illegal kiosks. Okay, but Okay, fine.
Most
Illegal
houses,
kiosk. If it is
look at
illegal,
most houses,
If it
there's
is-
always a kiosk.
They said it's
illegal. It can be legal.
It can
That's
be
where
legal.
I'm going. It can be legal. It can be legal in the sense that you have about 500, 1,000 residents in an estate. Of course, they are going to need water to drink. They are going to need soft drink. They are going to need a barbing salon there. They are going to need, other services. So I'm sure they provided spaces for that purpose, and that is going to involve.
And you seek permission.
And you seek
get the permission.
You won't, in fact, if you're not, quick, you're not going to get a space, because those are the first targets.
Yes.
The people who are targeting the residents sometimes can be different from the people who are targeting those places, because these are
commercial
revenue-making
areas.
ventures, and enterprise. So by the time they get that, then they move on and they pay returns to the government. But sometimes, some people can go through the back door and set up illegal structures in open spaces and start doing business within estates. And I'm glad they are not going to accept that. And that is good if we are going to maintain estate design, structure, and in fact, it doesn't even have to do with estates. Outside Lagos State at the wall, whether you go to residential areas, there are some places, I'm sorry, the way you extended this, your shop from your house, it got into this, it has crossed the demarcation, and before you know, the authorities are there to cut down, throw walls down, and these are things that should be put into proper perspective.
So coming to you for easy process, he mentioned payment of dues and
Yes,
all
they
that.
do.
I was thinking, isn't there a way that could be deducted from the source, from your salary directly?
Well, payment of
Especially for civil servants.
estate dues is different from what
Buying a property.
for mortgage.
Okay.
For mortgage, yes, you have that sign already. They will deduct from source. But estate dues is, we are the people in the estate, it's our estate, so we agree that we are going to pay for this or pay for that. So it's not salary deducted. It's not. It's not that big compared to what you're paying for the property, and that
also-
can always be negotiated.
And also, I know if you want to get a property or if you want to rent a property outside, private property, the landlord will do some investigation. So do you think this might have been as a result of not running due investigation prior to allocating such properties to these owners?
Well, for you to get government property in the first place, they will do their due diligence, knowing fully well that you're not paying outrightly, you're paying through mortgage. So the bank themselves will do a due diligence on you. You will submit a whole lot of papers and formal clarification. So at that point in time, if there is any discrepancy, is the human factor.
I'm talking about going to where you lived before and asking. You know how landlords do it? The agents will go to where you've lived before. They will ask, how is this person?
Are they banks?
Why is this person? Some landlords even ask you, why are you living where you are currently living?
They want to make sure that you don't come to vandalize or become an obstacle in their property. Nobody wants to harbor elements that you're not too sure of. So, well, if government is also saying, hey, if you get an allocation, do not resell, do not turn it into a rented apartment without our notification, and do not harbor criminal elements. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
But I want to point out a few things. Some few years ago, not very few, more than 10 years, I think, ago, I wanted to, how it feels like to live in Osborne.
The highbrow.
The Osborne, the Koi quarters.
The
and all of
Banana
that.
Islands.
Yeah, so I looked at there's this flat they are called, when you rent the apartments, you don't pay, you don't really, they call them service apartments, and some of the furnitures, you meet them in the house. So I'm like, oh, let me call the number. It's in a nice place to live in. And I called, and I was told, oh, it is 6 million naira per annum. I said, okay.
For a service apartment.
It didn't start. I'm telling you about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I was surprised.
So it's 6 million naira. I said, okay, I didn't start. And the next question is,
Service
what
charge.
do you do
Oh, definitely.
for a living? I can't remember the response I gave, but I knew that was the last time I called that number. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes if these are properties that the government is giving out to people, one of the things that the government should take into consideration to make it very easy for people to come into those places and to live in there is for them to find a way to access the prepaid meter on behalf of these residents.
They do.
They do.
They
Because if they do that, they would have solved almost half of the problem these people are going to experience when they live in those quarters.
Government facilities, they take care of that.
You take care of that?
Yes, they do.
Great.
All
now,
right.
now that you live in one of the government facilities, it's good to hear.
Let's move on to the next story. OpenAI has unveiled ChatGPT at last, a new AI-powered web browser aimed at competing with Google Chrome and transforming how users interact with the internet through artificial intelligence. ChatGPT at last integrates advanced search and browsing capabilities with OpenAI's language models, allowing users to perform tasks, summarize content, and get real-time information using conversational prompts. Now, the browser also features paid agent mode, which enables automated searches and intelligent text handling, providing a hands-free web experience for power users. The launch marks a strategic move by OpenAI into browser market, positioning Atlas as the productivity tool that blends traditional browsing with AI-driven automation. With growing demand for smarter, faster ways to access information, ChatGPT Atlas could challenge established players by offering a more interactive and intuitive web experience. Quite a beautiful one, but shouldn't we be looking at having our own artificial intelligence platform made by Nigerians with every other Nigerian factor included? Could come in different languages. Igbo, Yoruba, Efik, even dialects, Ijebu and the rest of them.
They are there already. But
By Nigerians.
Unfortunately,
not
not
OpenAI.
by. Unfortunately, not by Nigerians. The world is moving very fast, and people are investing in what they see as opportunity. Like we keep saying, this is where we are missing it. There was this particular story of our tech space, the managers of our tech space, the government manager of our tech space, not doing enough. That story is out there, and people are really pushing that narrative that, hey, we are holding back our tech space. We are becoming more of consumers, not producers. In that particular sector. And it's telling. Before OpenAI even thought of, there was Google.
Yes.
Before Google, there was Yahoo for browsing.
Yes.
Before Yahoo, there was America Online. Before America Online, there was, I'm trying to remember their names. But you see, over time, a lot of this company either have metamorphosed or have gone to another service area or have just died. We are moving very fast. I won't be surprised if you remember very well if in time past, by the time you bought your systems, it came prefabbed. You were not paying for anything. But now you have to pay for Office. I'm not trying to call their names. You pay for every of those
Most of the
platforms.
apps, yes. Platforms you have to.
All those apps you pay for. This is where it's going to. It's going to get to a place, a time where you will pay to even browse. Now you might pay something.
You were doing that before.
Pay to browse?
Yes.
You buy data.
Now,
So
your search engines is where I'm going to. We'll get to a time where you pay for your search engines, and they might not even collect money from you. They might tokenize it and make it something that won't cost you anything. But if you see the aggregation of the whole is billions. That is where we are heading to. OpenAI is getting there already. And right now, your Google search and your search engines are going beyond just you being the one giving them smart concentrations and smart words or words to search or keywords. They are going to be the ones offering you keywords. That is happening already. And OpenAI is the next big thing. Google is also not sleeping on it because they are also coming up. Same thing if you see Grook.
Yes.
With all those search engines, all the micro plugin sites, they are all coming up with new innovations when it comes to their own search engines and giving you response and answers to what you are likely going to search. Have you asked yourself this? Sometimes when you want to key something and find, before you even tried keying it, it will give you suggestion of what exactly.
Actually, yes.
Because they have followed your input over a period of time.
Yeah.
And they can, to a large extent, guess correctly what you are trying to do. So imagine when they start monetizing these things. And like you said, a lot of this is not coming from us. We're only consuming.
Coming to you, Pri, I've used ChatGPT. Google has its own, I think it's Gemini. Both of good performance. Sometimes I even prefer the one Google offers than ChatGPT. But how will this affect Google's Chrome's dominant market?
It's a competition. It's a competition, and whichever suits your needs, that is meeting your needs fully. There are some that you are told that, oh, if you want to write a term paper in school or a project in school, there's one they propose to you to use that you shouldn't use ChatGPT. That they tell you either go and use Gemini, or there are other names they call. I'm trying to recall which of the names they call. And sometimes they are free basic platforms. Other times you see that they put price tags to one of this. And I think I went on one of them and I made a search to teach me, is it in stocks, in bonds? I made several requests, like tailor-made requests for me to be taught and to have a very, very sound knowledge about it. Straight told me, you're going to be built. We are going to bill you rather. And sometimes you are making, they are telling you, some of these packages that they are paid packages, you can upload voice, what's it called now?
Prompts.
Yes, you can upload files, you can upload voice prompts, you can, it is brand specific. And some others, not just brand specific, individual specific. And some others, it is an organization specific. And over time, they've looked at what your organization is into. And the kind of information that you need to feed your team, the kind of the training that your team require to have so that they can be at their best performance or do their work efficiently. As a result of that, they are trying to sell you a product. Now, most organizations buy. In fact, I cannot begin to tell of someone who said he has more than 10 that he has paid for. Let's try to localize it on what kind of information they can bring to Nigeria. And that's because in the input, in this ChatGPT and other relevant apps or systems, Africa was not really factored into the solutions that they were trying to create. So sometimes, even though you get some solutions, you know that those solutions are tailor-made, specific for some client that are so developed to a specific level. And you know that it's not going to happen here in Nigeria. Just like using, is it the Google, what's this application that is telling you when you are driving?
Google Map.
Google Map. You get in front of, this is someone's house. You are telling me to drive in. Why? Because we were not factored. This is an ocean. There's a sea. There's a river, a canal here. You are telling me to drive through. How? So because they were not factored in. And for Nigeria, for Nigerians, most especially those who are into data, geo mapping, and all of that, they need to help or maybe liaise with these international organizations to provide the right information for them so that if they can factor it into their own technology so we get exactly what we want, or maybe we single-handedly. It's not just a country. Of course, this is private individual or is going to be the one to jump into it to do this so that we know that when you're driving, you're not hearing someone try to tell you, turn over to the left, so you'll be taking your way to Ojuelegba. Maybe you should not pronounce it Ojuelegba. Maybe you will hear a Nigerian voice telling you Ojuelegba, something like that. Because when it is factored, a lot of things are going to be put in place because even those people, they are not just robots. Some people do voiceovers. And some voiceovers are very, very particular and prompt for Nigerians to do them because we are trying to meet Nigerian needs. We're trying to meet local needs, and we have to give it that local sound and local content for us to consume it.
All right, so let's quickly move on to the next story. We have very few minutes left. The United States is considering a major reduction in tariffs on Indian export as part of a potential trade deal. that may see India scaling back its oil imports from Russia. Indian news outlets reported on Wednesday. According to the report, Washington could lower duties on certain Indian goods to between 15 and 16%, down from the current 50%, citing sources familiar with the ongoing negotiations. The move is aimed at deepening strategic economic ties between the two democracies amid shifting global alignment. India, in return, may increase its import quota for non-genetically modified corn from the United States, currently capped at 0.5 million tons annually, even with a 15% import duty. The deal is also expected to include a provision allowing both countries to revisit tariffs and market access mechanisms in future, ensuring flexibility, mutual benefit as trade dynamics evolve. Jokes, I remember this talk between India and US. The US has said, okay, stop dealing with Russia. Deal with us and, let's become friends and all that. And, from this story now, it seems as if India is saying, okay, let's try it. Let's see whether, you're a better friend than my Russian. How do you see this go?
Well, in international dealings, it's always about interest. The interest of your people come first. India must have put the thing on the scale and weighed it. And before they will even buy less of Russian oil, they must have had that discussion with Russia. So there are other ways of going about this. Now, the US is pushing this less oil from Russia, majorly because of the Ukraine war.
Yes.
Trump is looking for every avenue to get that war to stop. So it's not as if maybe he has a problem with Putin. He does not. The last time they even spoke, they were talking about business. And they were progressing on business. But he wants that war to stop. He wants it to be on his bill that, yes, I put an end to this war that shouldn't even have started in the first place. So he's pushing India, knowing fully well that India is one of the major oil buyers from Russia. So if you can hurt them a bit, Russia will come to the table and negotiate faster. So that's where that is. For India had a tariff of over 50% on several of their exports to the US. Cutting that 50% to 15% is huge, and they will go for it. And they have gotten that. That is very, very good for their economy. If you remember, at a point in time, the country had to subsidize a whole lot of things for producers in India because of that particular tariff. They are very proactive. They were not waiting for the thing to happen. They were putting in measures to mitigate the economic hardship that was coming to them thanks to that particular tariff that was slammed on them by people that were buying major part of their exports. And I was also looking at one of the major things they were also getting from the US, corn.
Yes, genetic.
With full question mark.
Soy.
No GMO corn.
Yes.
That's what they are getting from the US. So if India also produces corn there, but they need more because their factories need a whole lot of these raw materials, and they are not taking GMOs. So African countries, if India is not taking GMO, why should you? Okay, this is there's a whole lot of talk on that particular thing. This is a win-win for India and a win for the US. It's interest.
Coming to you, Priye,
Yep.
what do you think Russia? How do you think Russia would react to this? Yes.
Russia will understand. They will understand that India is, first of all, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saddled with the responsibility of protecting its interests first. And the interests of the Indian citizens. And the reason why the United States is reducing the tariff on India is because they've complied to cut down on to reduce the number or the amount of oil that they are importing from Russia. It gives them money to be able to continue to prosecute the war against Ukraine. So they are trying to tighten the hold of money, of funds that goes to Russia. And the European Union is doing that. In fact, the whole European Union states by 2026, if not, is it March or July 2026, none. They've made a pact that no country was going to, because that decision was reached recently, that it's going to be purchasing the Russian oil. And it is, I'm not saying it's good, but I think it is good if that's how we're going to stop the war. The last thing is, now, what does textile, engineering goods, pharmaceuticals and manufacturing from India are going to be finding their way with reduced tariff to the United States. And that is to, to make sure that there is a level playing ground and issues about trade deficit are equally taken away, and to restore normal ties that existed between India and Russia. I know China will not bow there. It doesn't mean that India is being
disloyal.
No, they are not being disloyal. Neither have they been emasculated. But in international politics, they all understand that it can be quite difficult. China may not be able to do that, but the United States is finding other routes to try to get the rare earth materials, and they are looking at Australia, they are looking at 5 other African countries, if not more. And India, China itself is trying to, look at the other way around too, because currently now about 90% of manufacturing and mining rare earth materials is in China. And before they are going to be any form of shift, it's not going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. From oil reforms to market moves to housing rules and AI breakthroughs, we are tracking the forces shaping business in Nigeria and beyond. Stay with us. SOUQ Business Landscape starts now. This is where we draw the curtains. I am Olumide Shokoya. Continue to follow us, like, and share. Drop your comment. The conversation does not stop here. It continues. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day. Chooks.
Thank you very much for being part of the production today. For everyone out there, remember, look after yourself and also take a look at your neighbor. He needs your attention too. Have a nice day.
Okay. Good morning to you. It's been nice having you.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Said is going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If we say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is SOUQ Business Landscape.